For almost 50 years, Midway USA has been America's go-to source for just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. Go to midwayusa.com to see our latest deals and promotions and take advantage of our super fast same-day shipping. If you need a cooler, a new fishing rod, another rifle, ammo, or a reloading press, you can find it all at midwayusa.com. Thanks for your business. Hunting is not easy. It never has been. It takes dedication, motivation, a lot of patience, and quality gear. If you manage a food plot, put up stands, or need just one more game camera, we can help at midwayusa.com. We opened our doors in 1977 and continue to put customers first by offering super fast, same-day shipping. For just about everything for the outdoors, go to midwayusa.com.
Sitting up there jacked with Pepsi.
I'm there for the pack out. You just got to pack me in.
Committed to the bow early on. Like, I love getting close and putting a...
You cover a range of stuff on here too, right? Like,
we call this the THP World Headquarters.
You know, my grandpa Roy Weatherby.
I came into like that golden little pocket where there was like 4 or 5 different bowls. Just
You're Canadian? We're doing a Canadian podcast?
My name's Douglas Bode.
I'm Robbie Denning.
Roy Candy.
So you got your Florida done, eh, Pete?
Yeah, I'm actually eyeing up my shooting range right now. I just got to see what I got to move today so I can shoot inside tomorrow.
Is it still cold there?
It's getting warmer. I could actually shoot outside, but where I shoot, I haven't had enough time to clear the snow out of that area, so it just wouldn't be enjoyable to go shooting it right now until I kind of clear my path and can set my target up, but I'll get that done in the next couple of days at work.
We're not cold anymore. We're just getting fucking hammered with snow.
I think they're kind of worried about the freezing rain here. It's flipping over in the next couple of days here. It's getting real close to 0, and then I think we're at +3 or 4. I don't know about you guys, or
what about you, Derek? You're getting like you guys. Your province
it's bearable
over.
now. It's bearable. It's been honestly trying to escape the cold. It was -38 for like a week straight and just wreaking havoc on everything. And then now it warmed up, and now the snow is coming in like crazy, and it's just a mess now. So, but
yeah,
where are you exactly?
Southern Alberta, Lethbridge area.
Lethbridge, okay.
Yeah, in that area, and it's just we're just like a wind tunnel, like Pincher Creek. The wind comes up through the southwest in there, and it's always crazy storms, and but it's been really, really cold, really, really cold, abnormally cold. It was kind of shockingly cold. It was like 10-15 degrees and then went right to -38.
Yep. Oh, I hear you. We got the same thing. You guys usually get the worst weather because usually what comes south of us, we usually get missed by like the big stuff. Yeah. And I think it heads straight toward you guys.
Yeah, it hits the mountains, and we'll get like the Chinooks where even in like a afternoon you'll get 20 degree wet, like temperature changes, swings, say, like you'll go from extremely cold to 15-20 degrees and high wind, like 30-40 meters. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, everyone's getting hammered. Even the guys south of us, they're getting hammered with snow and cold weather. So we're not alone in it anyway. I was talking to our friend of the show, Paul McCartney, a couple of days ago. He's up in the Yukon. Oh, yeah, we don't have it that bad.
No,
we're not hitting anywhere -40s, -50s. So we're not doing too bad here.
That's a whole nother beast up there. That's gross.
Yeah. So Derek, last time you were on the show, I think, when was it, in November or October? We were talking about elk.
I think it was October, maybe.
Yeah, because
November.
You had already gotten your elk.
Yeah.
And then you went on a moose hunt later in November. Was it November, December?
It would have been late November, like 30.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got a moose.
Yeah.
Man, let's hear about it.
Yeah. It's one of those hunts that it's always a run and gun. It's farther north. You got to drive a couple hours north of where we're at. Like, it's not a southern Alberta hunt. Those draws are just terrible. They're getting to like 20-year draws now, eh? So to increase the likelihood of just being drawn, my brother, my dad, my mom, everybody, the kids, my wife, we're all putting in for farther north. We just keep going farther and farther north, and the draws are not terrible, but it's still a couple years. But we have the numbers now where we're pretty much going on the hunt, and it's a pretty good hunt. A lot of driving, a lot of covering distance. It's not a very long season either. It's like a late season draw. A couple of days is all you got. You only got 3 days to get her done, eh?
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So pretty stressful, but it's just one of those things where like you got to get in your head right away from the get-go what you're going to take, because you're probably only going to get one chance at a decent one. So if it's got paddles, if it's in the 40s, like you're not going to find 50, 60s. Like we shot 150 in 2015 in there, but it's pretty tough. Like you start being picky. My brother, he's super picky. He'll like, oh no, it's not big enough, not big enough. And by the end, we're having to work our asses off where you're like, am I going to have to total a truck driving? Like we're just driving like maniacs. You have to drive all over the country. And in there, it's thick bush. You got cut lines. And basically that's the name of the game. You just get up in your glassing areas and you have your runs and you just kind of creep around. And we have a couple good areas. We had 2 tags, so that's even more stressful. So we ended up getting 2 moose, 2 bulls, but very, very stressful, eh? Like just first bull, we knew we were going to get one right away in the morning, the first day. And that's sure as shit, that's what we seen. We'll always see one good one, and we have like kind of a little route that we go and see a bull. There was 2 of them together, just standing off the road. And initially in that first morning, they don't really move. They'll just kind of look at you. Hey, so the name of the game is cover as much area as you can. You can glass a little bit, but it's so thick in there. Like you can barely, it's good for archery initially, like the first morning. And then after that, it's not good. Everything's running a million miles per hour. And first morning, see 2 bulls out, and it's just one of those things where they're just standing there looking at you, and it's running gun, grabbing bow, got one in on broadside, fairly longer shot, like a 70-yard, 75-yard shot. And then in that area, there's so much pressure, hey? Like it's a smaller zone. It's really thick. You kind of don't see too many people, but we've learned from past mistakes where guys will bump them, where you can't wait on him. So right away, rush him, get down on his level, and he's hit hard. He bedded right away. And you have to, like with moose, like I've been a part of like 10 or 15. I think it'd be somewhere in there. I don't even know. It's at least 12 or 13 bulls that we've taken together. My brother, my dad, and his friend. 15 with Gary's. But I've shot, I think this is 5 or 6 bulls now that I've shot. I think this is my 6th. But early on, we used to hit them hard and let them bed, and we've learned that that's just not good enough. Maybe in bigger areas you can do that, but we'll always have guys driving right beside the bull. Like there's cut lines everywhere, but guys will kind of go off road, and then all of a sudden there's a truck bumping your bull and they're running off, and then you're having to track it. So we've kind of learned from that, like you got to get at least one really good vitals hit, and then you got to rush them and get another one in them if you can. And I wish I had footage of it, because I have my mom over my shoulder, and like it's a primitive weapons draw, so it's muzzleloader and you can shoot bow and arrow. And I have my mom over my shoulder with a muzzleloader. I'm like, hey, like if this bull like charges me, because we're gonna be right on top of him. Like you don't waste time. She had a tag too. My dad and I had a tag, and it's like, don't waste time. Like put him down. And I come up on him, and I'm maybe, oh man, I think under 10 yards. And he stands up and he comes charging forward to me, and I shot him frontal right in the chest. Then backed off. It took the fight right out of him. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's gonna come forward at me. Takes a couple of steps, I shoot him right in the chest, and I backed around, and and then this is where like I had, because I've been shooting elk with this past year. I tried typically I've been shooting all mechanicals, and it was Grim Reaper 1 3/8 cuts, razor cuts is what my go-tos. But I was using those micro Hades on this guy, and I only had 2 more in my quiver because I used them on my my bull elk earlier in the season. So I put one in his chest, I put one broadside, and then one in his chest, and then I'm like, holy crap, this guy's he's still alive. Like, holy shit. So I'm like, we're gonna try out the mechanicals, and it really impressed me. It really did. I backed off, went right around him to kind of see a different vantage point, just to give him some space as he's bedded, and I zipped 2 more arrows through him broadside. That's awesome. Like complete pass-throughs, like crazy. Like my dad was like, he had shot mule deer. He actually won a Cold Isle Fishing Game bow hunter of the year kind of deal for mule deer. But he bought a bow, shot a mule deer, and then that was it. He's like, oh, I get it. Like, he shot it. And, but he's like, I haven't seen like one of the new bows shoot something up close. Like, holy shit, pretty intense, eh? And just arrows went right through him. One went sticking into a tree behind him, and then another was like buried in the dirt, just wild. So, and then we had to scrounge up another bull. This first bull we got, he was a good bull. He was in that mid to upper 40s, like not quite 50, but definitely a good bull, especially with a bow. It's like I say, like that draw is such a crapshoot. There's so much pressure. You have to be like dialed on, fast, can't hesitate. Everybody hesitates. There's only a 22% success rate in that season
for that draw.
How many tags are they giving out?
I think it's only like 25. It's not many. The success is all. So like basically, I'm not 100%, but we might have shot half the moose that were taken in that zone. Only 3 or 4 will usually get taken. Hey, usually we'll take one of the better ones. We usually try and hold up for some with some paddles, especially now we're getting a little bit more picky about stuff. But it's just trying to look and find those 50s is just it's not impossible, but they just don't get big like up north, eh? Like in Grand Prairie area, you'll see those bulls that are pushing 50. We seen one, he was a pretty good bull. You would have been close to 50, but again, it's close. And by the second day, like the morning, anything sees you, it's full tilt. They're running as fast as they can. It's insane. And just people everywhere pushing bush, like getting real unorthodox with it. That was the first time I'd seen people pushing bush in that area, and dealing with that is just like a whole nother level. Because all the bulls they are running as fast as they can, versus before maybe you got a couple seconds hesitation. And in that season for bow and arrow, and there's a couple bow zones, but they were shut down by the second day. So it's a tough hunt, and people think you go in there, oh yeah, I'm gonna get my ball, no problem. And you see a lot of sad people by day 3. They're getting worried. You see them around, you go talking to them, and like even the last bull on the 3rd day last season that we shot, my goodness, there was a guy who's driving way too fast and pulling U-turns and crushing through bush and just crashing around. I was like, so
was it Pete looking for his moose?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Sorry, buddy, I had to do it. I could get a little cheap shot in there.
I knew it was coming. Don't worry.
So when you started, like, I guess I kind of did this backwards. So you've been on the show, you started talking about your hunt there, and I guess I should have realized, just to let the listeners know what's going on now, is I was talking to Pete, and I said, Pete, I'd like to cover a lot more stuff outside of British Columbia. Like Pete and we have a pretty good handle on like what's going on in BC, and like we figured the best way to get more knowledge and like just talk about more stuff that's going on in Alberta and Saskatchewan type of thing, more like covering the Western Canada, is to bring on another co-host. So it didn't take me very long to come up with a guy for that position. And I'd like to welcome to the listeners. I'd like to welcome Corey as the new co-host.
Thanks.
Yeah. Nice to have you on.
One thing you said there that's really cool, and this is like going to be the cool thing about having you on from another province, is you said it's a primitive archery or a primitive weapons tag.
Yeah.
So like, is that a specific, like, is that a harder draw, easier draw to get when you're putting in for these draws?
Kind of. It's not really now. It's like it used to be, and it's not. Now it's comparable to what the rifle is. It's just we know the area, we know like it was a easier draw, but now it's like 11, 12 years now. And that's what the rifle is now, second season. They have it tiered into seasons. There's a couple other seasons, like I was talking with one of my buddies, Nick, and there's some other muzzleloader specific seasons instead of just bow and arrow. It's just muzzleloader now. So there is a couple more seasons like that starting to open up, but not many. It's still early on. It seems like Alberta is still trying to figure out where that all fits in. I wish there was a muzzleloader season, kind of, because bow seasons, like you got the early season, and then once you get into like late October, especially with elk, it really winds down. It gets kind of, I wouldn't say impossible, but it's all spot and stock, and it just seems like maybe that'd be a good fit for muzzleloader season. I don't know. I know the guys in the States, they kind of love that. It just gives more opportunity for maybe more primary rifle guys to get involved in that earlier season kind of hunt, and maybe they'll go into archery too. But we still have a huge advantage with bow and arrow. Like it goes September 1st all the way to October 25th. So you do have a long time.
Oh man, what I wouldn't do.
Our rifle season goes September 10th to October 20th, which is insane. Okay, and like I think it's Washington where you can actually pick your weapon. So like if you're gonna hunt with a bow and arrow, now I don't know if they subcategorize that to like from like longbow traditional to compound. But then they have like a bow season, they have a muzzleloader season, and they have a regular rifle season. And like the length and duration of the season is based on the weapon you choose.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Washington State that has that. But like that would be something cool. Like in BC, it's kind of just like clusterfuck. It's like, well, we're not going to change anything. We're just going to keep it the same. Guys put in for these LEHs, which haven't changed. You know, they might take a few animals off the allocations that are given out. They don't really do anything. Like they don't make any like hard changes or make any, they don't really seem like they're doing anything for the wildlife. I don't know, but it would definitely be cool if we could have like some archery draws. I know in like the region I'm in, 814, like with a mule deer, the northern part of 814 is a lot different from the southern part. So like they could break those up, put some of it on like an archery only tag, you know, even if that's an over the counter tag, right? Something like that, but they just don't.
Yeah.
They have the resources, they don't put the man hours and they don't put the funding into it.
Yeah, I should say too, it's in Alberta, it kind of is zone specific too. So they'll have like the mountain type zones. They'll have that as an earlier transition to rifle. I think it has to do with success rates that are driving that. I kind of prefer, honestly, to be in that real thick stuff just because I find the calling can be more effective. But in those mountain areas, the calling it's very tough. I did shoot a bull in there in 2018. Had a couple really close calls too. And unless the bull is like the most obnoxious slam dunk, super aggressive, bugling coming running straight to you, they're almost impossible to kill. They go completely silent. They walk in silence just because the intensity of the mountain lion and grizzly bear population. It's crazy. I was cold calling on this one hill that I like. There's kind of a loop, and it's kind of an escape route for elk. You'll see them kind of run up this saddle and come around. And so I'm just cold calling. And then I got out of there, and I look on the news, and there's a guy on the other side of the hill, like literally like later on that afternoon, like a day after, that got mauled by a bear, like pretty badly. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, man, like maybe I
Yeah.
should be switching the way I'm calling and making sure that I can see what's coming in a little bit better. And then that I actually backed out because I started calling and I was starting to get responses from wolves.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
it's just terrible in there. So, I think that's what's driving some of these. So in that zone, like in that 400, so like that would be like southern, like in the pass and areas like that, like out by the mountains there, Crowsnest Pass area. That's it. I believe it's September 1st to the 16th, and then it's rifle.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. And like when you get up to northern British Columbia, they have obviously, when you're hunting sheep and stuff, and like you get up into those areas, goats. I mean, that is a little different than hunting mule deer down in Region 8. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I
yeah.
think they have to do a little bit more. Like, obviously, like in August, you want to get in there earlier because the snow levels are, the snow hasn't started yet. So, and you're going to hunt with a rifle just because of how hard it is. And I feel like that, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some bow zones for sheep. But like those regions, like those are good. I just feel like down in the areas where they know, like where the mule deer are, the numbers aren't very good, where they know they're struggling. I mean, down here, yeah, I mean, we got wolves, grizzly bears, cougars, everything down in the areas we hunt in. I've done the same thing, right? Called in wolves. I mean, I've seen lots of grizzly bears hunting, in the northern part of Region 8 where it gets really high in the mountains there and there's less road traffic. But I mean, I I just think like in BC they just need to look at like they need to almost like they could break down the zones a little bit for me. Like 814 is huge, right? Like when you think of like the number of zones you guys have in Alberta compared to the number of management units we have here, way less here, right? And they're just bigger giant zones, whereas
Yeah.
like there's a lot different going on in one end to the other. And it's like you have to look at it. You can't just look at 814 and say, okay, it's open for mule deer, right?
Yeah.
Where you get a southern end where they're going to be struggling, you get up to the north and they're not struggling as much. So, but it's easier to access down in the south. So guys just hammer the southern part, right? Right? More roads, less mountains, less thick. But that's why the mule deer are doing better up there. But nobody hunts up there. So they should make it so there's more, give rifle opportunity. If they broke this region down a bit, this management unit down a bit, and then gave a longer rifle season to, the northern part of it, where it's harder to hunt, harder to access, more deer,
Yeah.
and then stay to an archery only down the south.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how like we do have some general zones that are archery. That's the only general is like you have to hunt bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And that does help. But again, like even this past year, the numbers of mature deer are down. I'm not sure what's going on. In places where I've seen like multiple 180s, like really outstanding genetics, something's going on. I don't know if it's predation or just tags, just some of the primary areas I've been hunting. There's just that it's like there's an age class missing that 2 to 3 year old is completely gone. I don't see them. I'll see juveniles. I'll see maybe one or two shooters, and you'll see they'll have some sort of genetic thing going on where they're abnormally wide, but they don't have any points. Like their forks are like crab clawed, like and you can tell like, oh, the guides aren't going to shoot that. And people waiting 5-6 years for a draw, they're not going to shoot that either.
Yeah.
So, or big threes. I've seen a couple really, really big threes. One really good buck. He was probably one of the widest bucks I've seen in a long time. He was at least over 30 inches wide. He went like 32, 33. But again, quotations, bad genetics. He's a wonderful deer. But just for those like you're waiting 5-6 years. And even in the zone where I work, like it's a 10 to 12 year mule deer draw. Like usually the minister draw holder comes to that zone. I didn't see a single deer over 180. Not one.
Really?
And I've seen I've seen one that he looked like he had a 200-inch frame early on, but I only seen him briefly in some shade, and that was it. So I don't know what's going on in Alberta for mature deer. I talked to a couple of people. Kyle was sending out a post on his Instagram talking about how he hasn't seen any. And even some of my guide buddies, they're seeing them, but they're having to work their asses off for them, right?
Yeah, I just sent you a picture. Pete, I've already sent it to you. That one that, so for the people listening, I'm going to put it up on the screen. I'll put up a clip so you can see this deer. My brother sent it to me. And if you're listening and you want to see it, you're going to have to go over to YouTube and check it out. But yeah, this is the 3 point he's seen. But this thing is just like the craziest wide thing I've ever seen. And he said the same thing. He's like, man, I'm seeing small bucks. And then like you occasionally hear stories or get a glimpse of like one really good buck.
Yeah.
And there's like nothing in between.
Yeah.
And so him and I were talking, and he's like, well, maybe there's two, I know there's doe, they allocate, I want to say 2 doe tags in where he is, and he's in up towards Red Deer. So he's north of you. So yeah, man, like, and I know, like I was talking to Kyle too about that. Just the number of tags. Figure there's too many tags given out.
I think so too.
And see,
Unfortunately.
so those are, you're talking like LEH tags, right? Not over the counter tags. So like,
No.
how does it work? So like, let's talk a little bit about, so people in BC get an understanding of how it works in Alberta. So like, I know where my brother hunts, and this might be different from where you are, but there's no open season, or no, there is a 2-week rifle season for mule deer, and the rest is archery only.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the same down there? Is that the same province wide, or how does that work?
So zone specific. So say if you draw a tag, you can hunt the entire, so say like foothills area, you can, or southern Alberta, you can hunt the entire archery and rifle. And usually it'll be like, in the prairie zones, it's usually pretty, there's segments. If it's very prairie, like there's no cover for deer, they'll have like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you can only hunt on rifle. And then you'll have where it's open on archery, and then some are only archery only general over the counter, and those are starting to get reduced too. It's dependent on numbers, right? And then they just did another mule deer survey for the province to get people's input, like, do they want hunting opportunity primarily? Do they want trophy quality to be the primary purpose of the management? So they kind of are trying to get some ideas of what people are looking for, because I think there's a lot of, there's both spectrums, right? I kind of would like to hunt more and try and find those more bucks, but I'm passing up bucks that maybe people would just be slaying like crazy, right? Like, yeah, that's kind of the give and take of that, right? Is that you do have to have some self-restraint if you want to see bigger deer in some of these areas. But so that's all they'll have. They'll have draw zones where it's strictly draw. So draw for archery, and you get your opportunity on rifle as well. And then they'll have sometimes where it'll still in that same zone, depending on the numbers, it'll be like a 2-year draw for like mule deer does. And then there'll also be some areas, like some of the foothill areas, where you can get a general mule deer tag, but you can only shoot does with your bow. So you'd really have to do your homework in Alberta as far as what zone you're hunting, what opportunities, and then go from there and read the regs, knowing your seasons open up, and for anything that's like mule deer, there's mandatory surveys too for like bucks in draw zones. So say if you shoot a buck in a general archery, you do have to report that in because it's a draw for rifle.
Oh, I get you. Yeah, that makes
right?
sense.
So
see,
like,
now we do have the voluntary, like it's a voluntary survey that they send out, and now it's available online at on your BC hunting page. So, man, I had a question, or you were saying something there, and now I totally forget about it. But quality over, like quality, opportunity over quality. Now, I feel like British Columbia is all opportunity over quality, and they might get a little too far carried away where they're sacrificing too much opportunity, where it's in, I'm not going to say the word endangered, but it's really close to endangering, the species. Because like mule deer, let's face it, like hunters aren't the number one killer of mule deer. Okay, like in BC, Alberta, in BC specifically, it's highway deaths. They far outweigh any deaths on mule deer. And then you get talking to the guys from like the Mule Deer Foundation, the people in Wyoming doing the study down there, and like Robbie Denning and all these great, these guys who spent a lot of time just, they've devoted their whole life around mule deer, and they say winter kill is the number one cause of mule deer death. So like,
Yeah.
in Canada, if you take into consideration like roadkill, winter deaths, but all those things have to be incorporated into the amount of tags that are allocated, because like in BC, it's just a general open season that starts basically like in Region 8. I'm just going to use that for an example. It is open from September 1st to September 9th, archery only, any buck. And then it opens from September 10th to November 10th. And in between there is some, it's a 4-point antler restriction, one side. It does move over. There's a month there where you can hunt any buck. And this is with a rifle or bow. I mean, very little people after September 9th, I think, pull out their bow. Very little. But it's been like that for a long time. Now, there was a late season archery draw from December 1st to December 6th. They took that away. Like that's like, or December 10th, sorry, December 1st, September 10th. They took that away. Like, I don't really see that there being a lot of deer killed in that time with a bow, because I know a lot of guys don't hunt whitetails with a bow from December 1st to December 20th.
Yeah.
But if we have a really hard winter, like a really hard winter, 2 year, like just one, never mind back to back, which we've had, a lot of those mule deer are going to really struggle. They're going to get caught high up in the alpine if it's a quick snowstorm. They're not going to be able to get down. They're not going to be able to breed properly. A lot of them are going to die. So then if you have your general regulations that haven't changed in forever, and then we're facing, for the past 5 years, 3 out of those 5 years have been really hard winters that are decimating the mule deer population. And then it's still open to this. Now you're still adding more roads, more road deaths. Like, it's just like everything's stacking against the numbers of mule deer.
Yeah.
So like in BC, I feel like they need to take a more proactive approach and kind of base it year by year like they do in Alberta.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not instantaneous, but I think too, like for us, and it probably isn't as bad in BC, but we're starting to see the impact of chronic wasting disease coming through the Saskatchewan border in that southern section in there.
Is that highly present in mule deer?
Southeast it is, yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
How
and
about
it's starting to happen.
whitetails? The whitetails, more in whitetails or less in whitetails?
Less than whitetail. It's mostly and that's the thing. That's just another thing on an already snowballing issue where we do have a lot of takes being handed out. I feel like maybe that's kind of their management on some of that, to trying to manage that disease moving through. I don't hunt in those areas, so I can't per se say, but like I know my cousin, he shot a really big buck and he was clearly something was going on with him. And I would say it was chronic wasting, just ribs showing. We're not even in rut yet. Like it's early season, like just opening. Like it would still October, that October 25th time frame, or late October, and like opener. And he's got his ribs showing. He's got sores on his front legs, like just not acting normal, chasing whitetail does, like just something. Great buck, but clearly there's some mule deer health issues in Alberta. In some sections it's worse than others. Some people argue, well, that's all conspiracy, that's not really playing an effect. But you have roads, development, industry, tag allocation, hard winters or drought. It goes both ways. We'll get hit with a drought. Like there was drought potential going into this year. And then you got that hunting pressure, and now you got chronic wasting. Even if it's like this amount of extra pressure, you're going to see that in your numbers. And then two, just like in the area I primarily hunts, like I will say, like I want more opportunity. Obviously, everyone wants more opportunity, but I'd rather not hunt at all and shoot a 190 or a 200-inch deer than have the mule deer decimated because we're allocating way too many tags.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing, like in BC, we don't really have to, like I'm pretty much in the driest part of the province, and like we still don't have to worry about water, right? There's still creeks, rivers, but where you guys are, I guess drought is a real factor when you're thinking about mortality of mule deer.
Yeah, and you'll see it in the antler growth. Like one of my friends, Levi from Top Notch, everyone, like every year, like when I bring in my elk, I always ask him, what are you seeing? Like the guy's bringing in, like what's a deer looking like? Like, well, and he'll tell me like, oh, it's really good this year, or it's the antler growth is down this year versus other years, or like some real monsters are coming in, and it's just there's so many factors, and two, I've noticed, and I think this is playing a role into it. You'll see some of the topography slowly start to change over time, where some of the vegetation is changing. I don't know if it's drought or just like deciduous trees coming in, and you'll see that whitetail population start to creep in. And as soon as that occurs, they start kind of putting additional pressure on mule deer, and mule deer don't tend to do as well with human interaction. So then you have the human interaction, the pressure of hunting, and then that whitetail population is starting to move into there, and not with crazy big bucks either. You just see a ton of does start to put pressure into an area. Like I'd seen that in one of my main hunting areas. I just started seeing a ton of whitetail.
Yeah,
last
for
few
sure.
years, right?
Yeah, and one thing about the whitetail is like mule deer, their diet is a lot more finicky than a whitetail diet. But the whitetail love to eat what the mule deer eat. So they'll go into an area and eat all that vegetation first.
Yeah.
And then after it's gone, they'll still be like, okay, well, I can still eat this. But it's like eating your dessert before you eat your dinner.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna go in there and be like, oh yeah, I want to eat this because it's better eat, like for whatever reason. They have a bigger variety of diet than the mule deer. So they go into these areas and they eat all the vegetation that the mule deer depend on. And then the mule deer have no other option but to leave, right?
Yeah.
So I see that all over, like in areas where I used to see some good mule deer, and now I just see whitetails. Like,
yeah.
And like just whitetails, like not great whitetails, not this is in the area where I'm going to hunt my whitetail bucks, right? They're just there. And yeah, it's interesting. Pete, have you guys had any cases of CWD reported over that way? Because you're right along. So Pete's right along the border of BC and Alberta. Not right along, but his region is his zone.
Not right here, but it's getting damn close. I think just below the southern border, I think they had a confirmed case within 60 or 70 kilometers of the border itself. That was 2 years ago, I think that one was found. And then obviously they're watching the Alberta border on the Alberta side where it is confirmed, and it's getting close enough that they've extended the mandatory deer head program in 4 of 25 now, which extends. I mean, I think they've got it all the way from the US border for whatever MUs are attached to the Alberta border, all the way up to the edge of Kootenay National Park now, which is where I am. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see it in the next year or so, going from Invermere up to Golden, which kind of locks in the national parks there too, because they're bordering kind of the Yoho and Kootenay Park there. So they're prepping for it. I mean, they've got a drop box here in Invermere now for the heads, and
is that for both species, mule deer and whitetail?
Yeah.
Like, so there is mandatory. Is it mandatory over there or voluntary? I can't remember.
No, it's mandatory now.
On bucks?
Yeah.
Or all deer? Or is it mule deer and whitetail?
I'm pretty sure it's all bucks. Whitetail for sure, 100%. I know that one.
Yeah.
I'd have to look into the mule deer, but I'd be shocked if it wasn't mule deer as well. I think it's all deer.
So where was it? Because your region 4, it borders 3 states: Washington, Utah, and Montana. Where was that one? Was it in Montana?
I can't remember. It was a couple of years ago. I can't remember if it was Montana or Washington there. I'm not 100% sure. I just heard it was just over the border. Like, if it's there, it's pretty much guaranteed. It's, in my personal opinion, nothing official from anybody in my contacts, but I would think that it's got to be in the southern part of BC already if it's that close to the US border. Those animals don't see lines. So I'd be shocked if it wasn't in the southern tip of British Columbia already.
I wonder how far north, like in British Columbia, and I guess Alberta is the same, like how far north it'll go before you get to an area. Like once you start getting in northern BC, and I'm sure Alberta is the same, like the numbers they just don't interact as much as they do down in the southern part. Like you don't go into a field and see 100 mule deer or 100 whitetail. Do you know what I mean? Like you just don't see that. You might see a mule deer or a whitetail.
Well, the part that really scares me is all the urban deer that we have along our valley here. Every town is inundated with deer all over their towns. So if it gets into the general population, all those deer are going to spread it like wildfire.
Well, and that's part of the false. That's part of the false perception perception of mule deer is like when you talk to people about mule deer, and I talk to like my neighbors and people at work and stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, mule deer. There's a lot of them." And you're like, "No, there's not. Like the numbers have gone down dramatically." But they see all the urban deer and they're like, "Oh man, I see a deer every morning, or I see 3 deer every morning driving to work." And like, well, you're seeing those same 3 deer, or you're seeing maybe, there's maybe 6 deer around your neighborhood and you're seeing them over and over and over. They just live there. They're residents. They're like you. That's like seeing your neighbor. They're not going to go away. They're going to have kids. Those kids are going to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
So what I see happening potentially is if it got into the towns, the local populations would end up getting it. What we see happening is you always have your local bucks that born and raised, never leaving town, but you always get the ones that are sitting on the border of the towns and they don't actually live in town, because after a while you get to know every single buck in town by their distinctive antlers or whatever. And then all of a sudden we say, "Did you guys see that freaking 6x6 that walked?" And be like, "There's no 6x6 in town here." And it came, it's coming in to check out the ladies and stuff and see what's going on in town. And now all of a sudden that deer is interacting with the potentially infected deer. And now it's bringing it to the outskirts, and it's breeding grounds for that disease. And I don't know what the hell the province would do if and when it gets in there. And I don't suppose it's going to be a good thing.
Well, the problem with British Columbia is it'll be probably done 10 or 15 years too late. Like they'll see it, they'll see it and they'll say, "Well, we'll see what happens next year, or we'll see what happens in 2 years when the new regs come out."
Yeah.
And then we'll see. And then they'll get input from hunters and biologists and not do anything about it. And by the time they go to do anything about it, it'll be too late. It'll be like the beetle kill getting into the pines or something like that, where they're like, "Oh, maybe we should have acted a little earlier." I mean, heaven forbid the ministry act proactively rather than reactively.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary thought to think about.
So
what did you do with your moose, buddy? Did you Euro mount it?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Nice. That was a great. So your wife, she did a great job on your Eastman stuff.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, incredible. Got it all professionally framed, and yeah, she said it took a couple tries just because of the way that they were framing it, put shadow boxing it. And I had even told her, I'm like, "Oh, I was thinking about what the heck I'm going to do with that." But she did a great job with it. Incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's real good.
So what are you doing right now to get ready for? So do they have, what do you guys do for spring bear out there? You guys get to bait, which is super cool. And I'm going to Saskatchewan this year for my first ever experience with baiting. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, spring bear, it depends on the zone. Again, it's specific. It's like Grand Prairie area and up. Like I'm sure there's a couple zones down southern of that area, but
that's open for bear or open
baiting.
Open for baiting. So the whole province
baiting.
isn't
Not that I'm aware of, no. Because in the south I can't. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. See, I was under the understanding that all of Alberta you could bait for bears.
I'm not sure if that's it, because I haven't ever baited or sat bait in the southern areas. I think I don't know if it's because of the hiking presence and the recreational in the southern areas, but it's all spot and stalk. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And the ticks are horrific. Oh man,
those ticks. So we should get that tick man Dan on again. Like this guy.
Oh man, he was
We had this guy, his name is Tickman Dan. I think we'll get him on the show again, but I still don't really give a shit about ticks. Like I pulled ticks out of my shoulder once, and I don't really care about him too much. I mean, obviously I don't want to get Lyme disease, but it's just like I've accepted the fact that it's part of it. But man, when he was like going over stuff those fucking little critters do, I was like,
Oh yeah.
Lyme
That was-
disease. I don't want to get that one that makes you allergic to meat.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, and it's
yeah.
funny because that was, I think it was 2 years ago that we had him on, because Pete, you just first jumped on the show.
Yeah.
And he was saying it's called the Lone Star tick. And he was saying that he doesn't really think it would ever do very well in Canada because of our climate. But now there is known cases of the Lone Star tick in Ontario. And that's the tick that bites you and you become allergic to red meat,
Yeah.
which is like the most like horrific, ironic thing that could happen to a hunter. It's funny, I was telling my wife about that tick and like what it does, and she's like, "Oh, was it invented by, or was it created by anti-hunters?"
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, I want to show one thing here because so last episode, was it last episode? Okay, it was the last episode Pete and I did. I was telling my story about my bow malfunctioning, and I had to use a ratchet strap to make a bow vise on the back of my truck because I didn't have anything. So I'm gonna I got a bunch of people message me and ask me how I did it. So I'm gonna just do a quick video here, and for the people listening, you're gonna have to go to YouTube and check it out. But I'm just gonna break it down. So if anybody ever needs, so I don't know if you guys ever seen these lighters. My wife got me this for Christmas. I'll show you. It's got no flame. You have to plug it in and charge it.
Really?
Yeah, it's got a little it's battery charged. Super cool. Best thing ever. So just cut that. So, and then I'm probably going to need it longer. So what I did was I brought my daughter's bow down here just because it'll fit in the screen. Because my bow, it won't fit in the screen and you won't be able to see the whole bow, and that kind of defeats the purpose. Yeah, these lighters are great. You buy them on Amazon. She bought me it for Christmas. So really cheap too, but you got to plug them in, like they're rechargeable, but they're no flame. Super cool. Always work. So you just make 2 loops with whatever you got. I'll hold it to the camera so the guys can see. I just made 2 loops with whatever, like you should have some utility rope in your bag. So I just made 2 loops. I'm going to move the mic away, and you guys are just going to have to watch people listening or people watching, I guess. So, and I'll do it. I'll try to do it where everybody can see. Not the easiest thing to do.
So you're just looping it through the axle there?
Okay, so what I did, I'll hold it up to the camera. I just looped that around the axle, right? Now, listen, I don't recommend doing this all the time, but when you're hunting and you have to do it, it works. The issue with this is it's pulling too much on one side of the axle. You're not getting even pressure on the limbs. So, like I said, don't do this at home. Take your bow to a bow shop. I don't want to see a bunch of people sitting there pulling on, reefing on, and the axles pop out and be like, fucking Kevin Toy told me to do this. So then what I did is I put the ratchet strap through the loops. of course, I grabbed the one ratchet strap that somebody has served through backwards. I have a million of these ratchet straps, and I grabbed the one.
Okay, I got a quick question for you. I can see how you've put your
Yep.
loops through.
Yep.
More of a hands-on person, so it's hard for me to tell. If you had enough rope or material there, could you make those loops bigger and put one on each side of the cam so that both sides of the axle are getting pulled, relatively evenly?
The only problem is I got to move this mic closer to talk. If you did that, how would you how would you use your ratchet strap?
Well, that's the
Without it
point.
getting
I
caught.
can't.
So this isn't very smooth, but anyway, you're gonna get the gist of it here. So see these ratchet straps? How they ratchet? You're supposed to go like this, and for some reason, I have a bunch of these for work. The guys that at work, one person in particular, still hasn't seemed to figure out how to load them. I'm trying to do it quickly here, and I'm actually doing it. It's actually taking longer. Okay. I better pull this all the way through so people can see. So there we go. That is how you can hear it clicking. That's how you load a ratchet strap. Anyway. So now you can see how it is hooked up, and then all you do is I have to put it down. So there you go. Now you can see I can take the strings off. I could take the cables off if I have to.
Good emergency situation.
So, like I said, I do not recommend doing this unless you absolutely need to. Now, when you're hunting, shit happens. Sometimes you need to. Now, some of the bows, they do come with a way, like the Matthews has that stay-afield system. The only problem with that is if something happens to your cable, which like happened to mine, you can't do anything because it only allows you to change your string. And we've talked lots before about, put this down, actually. Unload it first. We talked lots about having an extra bowstring in your bag, in your backpack, and the importance of that. But it's, in my case, what happened was the string splitter, the cable splitter broke, had a crack in it, and I pulled it. And so I had to, do a makeshift, and I needed to press the string because there's too much pressure on while I glued it back. And now if I would have had more serving, it probably would have been fine for that shot, but unfortunately I didn't have enough serving. Now, since then, I have put a whole roll of serving string in my emergency kit that I carry in my bow. So, but anyway, I just wanted to show that for the people listening, because last time we talked about it, and then a bunch of people DM'd me asking me how in the hell I did it with a vise. Now, I don't know what they said. They couldn't figure it out. So I'm hoping they weren't like clicking it on their cams and pulling, and because that's how you bend stuff. You don't want to put anything directly on your cams. And now the problem with that is obviously you're pulling on one side of the axle too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not getting even compression like you do with the bow vise on the limbs. So, but anyway, quick little tip for people: if you're in a pinch and you have access to a ratchet strap, and you should have some sort of line in your bag. If you need it, there it is. Simple.
Oh, it's good thing to learn.
Yeah, for sure. So you got any plans for the rest of the week, boys? Pete, you're all done your edition?
No, well, final. It's all the minute stuff, all the trim stuff like that. Putting shelves back up, deciding what's getting thrown out. All the little stuff, but it's good. Everything's opened up down here, so mostly that, and back to the grind for getting that Fishing Forever program or event rolling here in a couple of weeks. So
Yeah,
I'll be
that'll
busy with
fun.
that.
How about you, Derek?
Well, I gotta clean up my disaster in my garage. Still left over from hunting season, just going through gear. Gotta go through all my camouflage, my kids' stuff too. Go through it, pack it for more long-term storage for the kids, and then probably do like a elk grind here, get all that done, process. We just froze it because we shot 2 of them, so we're just trying to get it out of the way, right? Frozen. So we'll probably end up doing that, and then starting physiotherapy on Tuesday, just getting older and just having to address a couple issues from packing out and hiking lots and stuff, just elbow issues. Actually, my right arm is an inch longer from shooting bow.
Really?
So yeah. So
Just
I got
compression on your shoulder.
Yeah, or something's going on. So
I have that. I have to call, like, I see a lot of physio. My left shoulder, my grip shoulder, it always from like, I mean, I don't let it compress. I push it out, but still, right? It makes those muscles, it makes those tendons and those muscles really stiff, and they get really callous from having to do that all the time.
I think it's
So I
from
have
stocks too. Like my elbow from like I'm constantly, because I have my bow in my left hand, so I'm constantly like crawling with my right arm down. So you do that enough times, and I've noticed that I'll get like a little bit of a issue from that. From It's like planking essentially for long periods of time. So and
get a
then
little
just
like tennis elbow or golfer's elbow.
yeah, something like that. It's not really debilitating, but I just know, like, just from my career climbing for a living, like, you have to address stuff. You can't let stuff get out of hand. So
Yeah, I actually hired a running coach. Thought you'd like that, Pete, because I've noticed since my hip problem, my gait got all fucked up, and I walk with my foot on slightly, my toes point out in my stride now.
Yeah.
Just because I was walking, it was so uncomfortable, and that's how I was walking, and it's just slowly. Then when it healed, I was doing the same thing, and now I have to get my gait properly. But I figured it was, I'm not getting any younger. I'm creeping up on Pete.
Oh, fuck off. You're the old man here.
Okay, anyway. I'm not getting any younger. And so like, it's funny when you get to like a certain age, and like, I can't remember how old you are, Derek. How old are you?
I just turned 36.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck.
So
You're still a kid.
Oh
No,
yeah.
just okay.
Right. Yeah.
In comparison to Kevin.
Yeah, you we got a few years on you. But anyway, once you get to a certain point, like when you're young and like in your 20s, you're always like, fuck it, next year, right? Next year. But once you get to a certain years, you're like, man, like right now I'm 45. I feel like I only got like a few good years left. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, so I don't really want to waste those. So I figured, I gotta, and plus my son Wyatt, he started running. I got him into running last year, but that fucker hasn't stopped. And so he runs all the time now. And I'm like, holy fuck, like this kid's he's running like 10 miles in like 30 something minutes, like incredible speed. Like his miles per minute are insane.
That's disgusting.
So I asked him, and like he didn't know for sure. So that was a guesstimate. But so when he goes on his next run, because my daughter, when she goes to figure skating, he comes down, they have a 1/4 mile track, and he just knows from the amount of time to amount of laps he does. So I'm going to set it up in time to see what his actual time is. But I started thinking, I'm like, holy fuck, man, this kid's going to start fucking beating me soon. I got to stir up my game a bit. So I hired a running coach, going to help me with just getting me back into that motion where I don't get re-injured. Because I don't want to go through that again. That was fucking horrible.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what I'm doing with this. I don't really have any issues right now, but I do know, like, I went from climbing every day, multiple times a day, being very like durable, tough, and then you get into a chair, and I'm a supervisor for a couple of years now. You start seeing those imbalances, and where your body's just holding on for dear life, and then you get into that chair, and you're like, oh, I don't have any injuries, I feel pretty good, but then it's just like, just doesn't like it. It just you start seeing atrophy and imbalances start to show up, and wear and tear. So hopefully I'm trying to avoid some of this, and just I had a little bit of patellar tendonitis and issues through a tough hunt in 2020 where it's just putting 30K a day and it's snow terrain, and that just was causing this chronic swelling and issue. So that's usually what I do is like after the season, everything's all done. You're usually pretty beat up by then. I'll kind of stop with weights a little bit. Like I'll still hit weights a little bit, but I'll do more like band exercises, a lot more like range of motion stuff, flexibility stuff, trying to figure out like, okay, like, do I have an imbalance now from all this hiking and packing around bags and stuff like that? And you're out of motion for your shooting too, right? So, just getting back, slowly ramping everything back up to what it was so that you're not weaning an injury and then not addressing and then going into the next season kind of with a issue, right?
Yeah, I got to agree. Like I do the weights and stuff and I enjoy the weights, but it's actually the stretching I find makes me feel way better than anything else, just because it's you're not getting bound up and then overcompensating for that as you're going along.
Well, it's awesome for especially like to do what we all love to do. It's great for injury prevention because when you're hiking around, you got weight on your back, and if you slip and fall and you have to hyperextend, if you're not flexible, that's when you tear and pull stuff. If you're flexible and you're used to that motion, you're going to be able to bend through it and you're not going to get injured. So that's really important. But I was having some ongoing shoulder pain, and it was really affecting my shooting and my grouping. And it's starting. I was been working with Sean lots, and like we started working on stuff to fix it, and it's starting to feel better. And instantly, I noticed like just my grouping and just like feeling comfortable in my shot, because it felt like I was always avoiding it a little bit, right? And then obviously it's gonna have value in your shot performance for sure. Anyway, guys, I'm pretty excited to have you on the show, Derek. Thanks for joining the team here. And for the listeners, we're going to cover a lot of stuff. We're going to try to get into a lot of stuff in Alberta. Still, we're going to be covering the stuff in British Columbia and Saskatchewan. So we're going to kind of be more versed on what's going on in Western Canada. So it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for inviting me to the team. Hopefully I can bring just the Alberta specific stuff, and even just like I'm pretty well versed with long range and rifle and reloading and all that too. Hopefully I can add to the podcast and some knowledge based on that.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think we're gonna cover more of that this year rather than and not that we're gonna be shying away from the bow stuff. We're still gonna be covering that heavily, but just being more versed on the rifle stuff too, because I know there's a lot of guys listening that they do rifle hunt, which is great. Okay, guys, thanks again. We'll chat later.
Thank you.
Pete's taking a drink. He's probably got Bailey's and that stuff there.
Oh, fine.
Okay.
I'm out of Bailey's, I wish.
Friends of NRA is your chance to support our Second Amendment rights and preserve America's hunting traditions. Join Friends of NRA at one of our 600 exciting events nationwide. From games to auctions and exclusive firearms, Friends of NRA events are your chance to support a cause you care about while having a great time with patriots in your community. Whether you're a seasoned shooter, an avid hunter or outdoorsman, or passionate about freedom, there's a place for you within Friends of NRA. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you. Stand up for freedom with the Friends of NRA.
A life that has the stories to back it. A life to be proud of. It's a Winchester life.
Yeah, baby. 6'8" Western. Oh, mule deer, baby, right there.
Tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Waypoint TV.